Are you ready to crack the code on closing bigger deals and landing better clients? Welcome to The Closing Code, the podcast for sales pros and agency owners who want to master the art of selling high-ticket digital marketing services. In each episode, your hosts, Clinton James and Josh Konigsberg, bring you real-world strategies, actionable insights, and proven tactics to help you level up your sales game. No fluff, no gimmicks, just the tools you need to win more deals and build a thriving agency. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Josh Konigsberg here.
I'm Clinton James, and welcome to another episode of The Closing Code.
Today, super excited about today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about the assumptive close, the powerful technique that we all can use to let the lead or prospect feel as though they're already going to be doing business with you.
So, Josh, I like this for two reasons. One, obviously, you want to point the prospect in the decision of, hey, we're going to be doing business together. Not if we're going to be doing business together, but we are going to be doing business together. And I also think it's great from a mindset standpoint. Literally, if you go into every strategy session or sales demo with the mindset that this is a prospect that is going to see enough value to work with you, and that comes across in your language, I think it's great for the prospect. I think it's great for your mindset as well, going through that call.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, I've been using this technique for years. And the difficult part, I think, that many salespeople have is that they are, again, getting back to the emotion, and that is they will feel a deeper sense of rejection if they're assuming they're closing and they don't close. And at the end of the day, the emotion's the same. The rejection's rejection, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's maybe one of the hesitancies that many salespeople have on making the assumption, right?
And I listen to sales presentations, appointments being scheduled by team members there, and the language is always the same, right? It's when you say things like, "Would you be interested in?" or "Do you want to move forward?" It really invites a great deal of doubt to that sales cycle that shouldn't exist. Right? If you are confident in the programs and services that you provide, the results you're going to generate for that prospect, and just as importantly, that prospect because you qualified them is someone that can take advantage of that offer and that program, there shouldn't be any room for doubt. Right? You should go into every sales presentation knowing that you've got the right solution and you're going to be able to get that prospect.
You should leave no doubt. So, interesting statistic about this. And so again, I like to get to the emotional level of things. So if you're making the assumptive close, you are automatically boosting your internal confidence. And so the statistic I'm going to cite is this, that studies show that confidence from a salesperson can increase a buyer's likelihood of purchasing by over 40%, just by being more confident.
I absolutely know that to be a fact, right? The more confident I am in the services that I provide, the easier it is for me to close business. As an agency, you're going to have some great times during fulfillment, and you're going to have some times where some of the campaigns and services that you offer struggle. And there's usually a direct correlation when you look at sales rate and close rate, right? You might see your close rate go down if you have less faith in your fulfillment and your ability to deliver results for your clients there.
And as our great friend and great salesman, Jim Aline says, you want to build a wall between your fulfillment and your sales team.
100%.
And only share the wins with the sales team.
I have to agree with that 100%.
Yes.
The more, again, I sell on a day-to-day basis, and unfortunately, I can't remove myself from a lot of the knowings of what's going on the fulfillment side. I know about the wins, right, which really amps me up, but I also know about the losses, and occasionally, no matter how hard I try, I carry some of that energy into some of my sales conversations. And I know it negatively impacts me. So I'm assuming it probably negatively impacts a lot of people in the audience there.
Yeah. So what I've seen as a sales coach is that the salesperson is acting like the sale is like they're asking the prospect for a favor,
Ooh.
right? Which creates uncertainty in the mind of the prospect. And that comes across even subliminally, right? So you're actually doing them at the end of the day by asking them for a favor to buy from you is doing them a disservice if you're delivering a quality product or service. Because
100% agree.
right, what are you going to be able to accomplish for them? And again, this gets back to my early conversations with potential clients when I get into my discovery call, right? Like, what does it mean to you? Because I am going to be the agency that makes your dreams come true. And if you look at it that way, right, we all have goals and dreams, don't we?
Hmm.
And so when we look at it that way, and if your team is good and you can fulfill and help them achieve their goals and dreams, there's no doubt, right?
Well, let's point out some examples, Josh, of like weak language that ultimately could impact whether or not you close a deal, right? I hate the term. Would you like to think about it, or should we maybe discuss next steps if you're interested? Have you ever heard a sales rep say that during a sales conversation?
Absolutely. And things like, would you like to move forward, or would you be interested? So that those are not confident closing statements. So
Um,
so
I preferred I prefer statements like, "Once we get started," right?
Mhm.
I'm setting the tone for what they should expect when
Sure.
we implement this,
That's right.
instead of if you decide to, it's when we, right? It's not if, it's when.
Right. So and I do the exact same things, maybe with a little bit different language, right? So it might
Mhm.
be, let me tell you what's going to happen when we do this. Or the first thing we want to do together strategically. Now the together almost is like already working together, right? So strategically we are going to plan A, right? And then your team working in concert with our team is going to create this and accomplish that. So
And
those are some. Go ahead.
I was gonna say for those that takes them out of their comfort zone a little bit, you can try stuff like, you know, how soon do you wanna get started? Can we get your kickoff call scheduled for Monday of next week, right?
Love it.
I am, we had a conversation about this, the last time we were at Josh Nelson's, intensive group there, and one of the things that I do is I don't ask for the close at the end of a sales demo, right? I traditionally will bring up a calendar that shows my onboarding availability, right? This is when I can squeeze you in. My services are in such demand. Here is a very limited schedule, and you need to make a decision today if you plan on getting on this schedule this or next week,
That's right.
right?
And some of that's going to be driven, again, getting back to my discovery calls. I just had one earlier this morning. When's your existing contract up? May 1st. Oh, so your timeline is sometime in the next couple weeks. Yep. So they are going. So actually, they were pushing me to have the strategy session faster than I can actually accommodate them, which again is a good thing because we're showing social proof that our availability is somewhat limited.
100%. I like creating a sense of scarcity. And I do that really early in the sales process, right? So as an agency, we have a limited amount of bandwidth in terms of how many new clients we can onboard in any given time, right? So I will use visuals like an Airtable calendar that shows the deals that we have closed either the previous month or that month. So they'll see all of the other business owners just like them that have elected to make the decision to move forward with my agency. They will see they're not the only one that's making that decision, but they'll also see a visual that I have X number of new clients that I have to onboard to perform these services for. So if they want to work with me, they need to make a decision sooner than later to ensure that we can get them on the calendar and get the ball rolling in terms of delivering the results that they're looking for.
So well said. So let's translate that into some real life actionable solutions that our listeners can implement, right? So let's do it this way, Clinton. Let's say, instead of saying this, don't say that, say this, right? So, in other words, instead of saying something like, well, if you decide to move forward, you would want to say what you said earlier, something like, once we get started or when we implement. So, don't say if you decide to, okay? And
Yeah.
don't ask, go ahead.
No. 100%. That is the type of
Right.
language, and unfortunately, it's not something that you're going to be able to change overnight, right? You literally would do yourself a great service is if you write some of these phrases on Post-its, sticky notes, and surround your monitor with them, because the more you see them, the more likely you are to use those phrases when you're having those conversations.
Right. So, and I'll just give you a couple others. Don't ask a question if you want to proceed. Instead, ask how soon do you want to get started, or let's look at a calendar so we can get you an onboarding date, as you just said. Or ask a question. Well, who on your team is going to be involved in the onboarding process, right? Because that automatically gets buy-in from them to start consciously picking people on their team that they want to be involved in the relationship, right? So, um, I also like to use what we're going to call anchor confidence in proof. Okay. So what I mean by that is you want to pair your assumptive language with the case studies or testimonials with language like, well, most of our clients in my case would be your type of law, start seeing results in 45 to 60 days. And I can actually demonstrate that on a graph coming right out of agency analytics, which is the tool we use. And then I say something like this. Again, and you've heard me say it before, but for our listeners who have not, I'll show them a graph over the last year where it looks like this, the call volume looks like this for the same type of law that they're practicing. And I say, now, can you see yourself achieving similar results as this law firm has? Who says no to that,
That's fair. That's fair.
right?
So
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, again, we're talking a lot about kind of midway to the end of the sales process there. But one of the things I want our audience to really understand is when you're using assumptive language, this needs to be part of the entire sales process, not just your closing. Even when you're going into a right fit or a discovery call, whoever's scheduling those appointments can actually adapt this language to increase the sense of urgency to get that next step in the sales process scheduled, and also start to create that scarcity so that that prospect shows up predisposition to make a buying decision, right?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
everybody in the sales organization would be well served by using how to use or learning how to use assumptive language in every step of the sales process. So I don't care if you're the sales guy actually closing the business or you're an appointment setter that's taking that prospect, qualifying them, and then getting them on to that closer schedule there. What we're talking about today, assumptive language, is something that everybody needs to be using.
Right, and what you're really talking about is not only just that, getting the whole team involved, but by getting the team involved early on, it's called future pacing, right? So we're future pacing the assumptive close that we're going to be working together, which helps the prospect visualize the outcome. And then they can say yes without even a formal ask. I'm not saying that always happens, but when you future pace it properly, it certainly makes it a heck of a lot easier, right?
I agree. Josh, before we get into some more tips for the audience, let's take a quick break. Hear a little message from our sponsors.
Great. Running an agency is demanding, and as you know, the process of interviewing, hiring, and training new team members is both time consuming and costly. It can even hold back your agency's growth. We have found a game changing solution in a company called Virtrify. Just like cracking the code to closing deals, finding the right talent is essential to your success. Virtrify partners with digital marketing agency owners to help them scale faster by providing bilingual appointment centers and salespeople from Latin America. As an agency owner, your time is best spent growing the business, not getting stuck in the process of hiring and training. Virtrify's staffing solution frees you up from those time-consuming tasks so you can focus on scaling. Ready to delegate and grow? Visit virtrify.com/closing code to find pre-trained salespeople who are experts in the closing code way Let's build your high performance sales team together.
All right, we're back. So, Josh, we are talking assumptive language. Let's share a little bit of our secret sauce, right? Let's share a little bit of our best practices in terms of how we're using this on a day-to-day basis to help us close business there. So,
Yeah, so before the break, we talked a little bit about future pacing, and to me, the using the assumptive language throughout the and you mentioned it as well, the throughout the entire process, not just the end, and that builds confidence and certainty from call number one.
let's take it through each step in the sales process, right? So let's go with that right fit or discovery call because that's usually the first stop on a prospect's journey through an agency sales process there.
Mhm.
If I am your sales assistant and I'm doing that discovery or right fit call, what are the things that I can say during that call to do that future pacing that you're talking about?
So some of the language that we've already used would be, when we begin to work together and and you can even ask, so who on your team would be responsible for this? And so then what you can say is, well, that let's just say the person is Susan. Well, when Susan gets with our content manager, who is Daria, they're going to work together to create whatever the asset is that they're creating. So I'm pairing, just like any other relationship, I'm pairing critical team members together so they're now visualizing how it's going to happen and be implemented.
I want to take it one step further. So, with our appointment setters, we like them to know how many deals we closed the previous month, right? So that they can use that to create a sense of scarcity and urgency for the prospects that they're trying to get on the calendar later, right? Because one of the things I feel really strongly about is that time kills all deals. Right.
Yes.
So when you have a prospect that's interested that you've gone through the discovery call with, you've asked the qualifying questions, they seem like they're a good fit and obviously motivated. When I have an appointment setter actually schedule those calls, I ask them to use a talk track that's something similar to this, Josh. So humor me for a second. So, Josh, I know you're interested in getting more water jobs. We've got 8 years of experience generating exactly that type of lead for restoration businesses. There. Now we brought on 10 new clients last month. I want to make sure we've got an opportunity to potentially do some work with you this month. So I have availability on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Okay. I want to get you in as quickly as possible. That way, when you make a decision to work with us, we've got plenty of time to get you onboarded. Which of those 2 days is going to be the best for us to have set up a meeting with you?
Always giving them the option, right?
Mhm.
Of two, we just so there's not too many options, then they can't make a decision.
Two options, 2 days,
Right.
two options, right? So I ask a
Right.
client Tuesday or Wednesday. And then if they say Tuesday, I say, great, I've got this time in the morning or this time in the afternoon. Which one's a better fit for you? Now, obviously, depending on what that business owner has going on, you may have to rework the options that you're offering there. But it's a lot easier for a person to make a decision on two things than an entire calendar there.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
always have the appointment setters when they're going into scheduling an appointment to make sure they've got 2 days and two options available each one of those days. And those should be where they're directing that prospect. And those appointments should happen as soon as humanly possible.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. So let's talk about tone and how you, because you're so good at, it's not what you say, not necessarily. It's not just about what you say, but it's how you say it, right? So, um, the uh, the book Never Split the Difference. I can't remember his name, former FBI hostage negotiator.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. And if you listen as an audiobook, it's even better because you can hear him change his tone in his conversations, and he demonstrates that. And to me, that is really, really so important. So if you can begin to change your tone and how you say it with certain amount of calmness and confidence and focus, can you give us an example? Because I think you are tremendous at it.
Well, Josh, I am a high energy guy. And depending on the prospect that I'm talking to, I realize there's sometimes when I need to turn up the volume and sometimes I need to turn down the volume.
Yeah.
So, literally, exactly what you said: calm, confident, and focused, right? The competency, or I'm sorry, your confidence needs to come through in those conversations early and often in the sales process there. So for me, when I'm using assumptive language, it's very important for me to not sound desperate, not have
Right.
commission breath, not sound like I need their business. I am vetting them just as much as they're vetting me. So I really try to execute calm, confident, and focused. Great way to describe the right tone that you want to have. But I think you run, and I know this for me, so I'm assuming it probably relates to a lot of our audience. Um, there's some potential pitfalls with that, right? So
Yes.
you don't
Yeah.
want to cross the line between being confident uh, and then go over to being arrogant, or even putting a little too much pressure on a prospect there.
That's right.
It's really about certainty in your services and your deliverables and the results you're going to get for the prospect, and it's not about coercion or talking them into something that they don't want to do. Does that make sense?
It does, and so really that's a great segue into pitfalls. So one of my biggest problems is because similar to you, I get really excited because I love what I do. I love the work product and more importantly, the results that we provide for our clients. So I get excited that I can share this and really make an impact on someone's life. So for me, it's it can at time it can come across as like over salesy, so I
Mhm.
try to pare it back and again, get more confident without being arrogant, okay? So, there's one more pitfall I'd like to bring up, and that is in the assumptive language, if there's no value established, confidence without context can really backfire on you. Right? So meaning that I am absolutely 100% confident I am going to get you 1,000 leads a month from this Facebook ad campaign, and 75% of them are gonna convert. It's just not a realistic base, at least in my industry, just not a realistic number, right?
Right.
So, there's no value, right? So so
So I think one of the things that allows me to move with a great deal of confidence is having case studies, right? Having experience where I know my program has delivered the desired result for my clients there. So instead of making bold claims about how many thousands of leads or opportunities I'm going to generate, I can tell the narrative. I can tell the story of a client that I recently onboarded, have been working with X number of months, and these are the results that I've delivered for that client. Those are the results you told me that you're looking for, Mr. Prospect. This is an actual real life case study of somebody that I'm currently working with and delivering or exceeding on the results there. So you don't have to make these bold, bombastic claims that I see on a lot of these Facebook and Meta ads for agencies. Just use real life data. Be confident that that is all you need to close business. You don't have to make. Man, I saw an ad, and if the agency that ran this ad's listening today, I hate your ads. I want them to know I hate their ads. They say we'll get you 60 new water restoration or mold leads in 90 days, or we'll refund your money and pay your payroll. What kind of offer is that? Like, what agency is doing that? What do the terms and conditions look like for an offer like that? I don't have to make bombastic claims like that.
what do the leads look like? I can generate 1,000 leads, but doesn't mean they're any good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and that's what I see in my industry, right?
And I think prospects are smart enough to be able to separate people that make these bold, bombastic
Mhm.
claims in terms of lead volume versus somebody like you or myself that are having conversations and usually using actual client data to show what we are delivering, right? What
Right.
we're currently delivering for the business owners that we work with there. So I think that's a really good way for you to avoid um, avoid what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, I y I don't want clients to find the offers that I'm making to be disingenuine, like, they don't believe I have the confidence to deliver the results that they're getting. So whenever I can use actual client data, whether it's via a screen share, or just a conversation, I feel like it literally builds my credibility with that prospect there.
100% it does. So let's segue into a hypothetical that I'm sure some of the younger salespeople have perhaps run into that don't younger, not necessarily as experienced as an old timer like myself. So what if a prospect calls you out and says, "Hey, listen, you're really being overly confident, or you're being really pushy."
Yeah. I would say this, Josh. I'm really sorry if my tone's coming across that way, but you have to understand. For the last 8 years, I've worked exclusively with water restoration companies. I'm not a generalist. You're not going to catch me working with a dentist or a landscaper or a restaurant. This is all that me and my team have done for the last 8 years. So I am confident, not only in what we can do for you, but more importantly, the results that we're going to generate for you. Because I've got 130 plus restoration companies that I'm doing this for right now.
Right.
That's how I would respond.
So that basically is called regrounding the value, right? So that, hey, we've done this before. We've been doing it for 8 years, and we're going to be able to continue to replicate this, and we can replicate it specifically for you. Great stuff, man.
All
So
right.
let's talk about, let's kind of wrap it up because we don't want to take too much time. Let's talk about some key takeaways for our listeners. Okay. So assumptive language shifts the energy of the call, right? So if you speak like it's already done, you're going to guide them forward and let your certainty do the selling. Does that make sense?
I
That's a
love
great
that.
takeaway.
I love it. It actually reminds me of one of my favorite motivational quotes. Don't know who said it, but it's a good one. Success favors the bold, but closes belong to the certain.
I
So
love
if
it.
you go in with assumptive language and confidence in the services that you provide, man, you're going to be able to turn that into a lot of wins for your agency.
That's great stuff. So, uh, coming up next time, we're going to talk about building trust fast, how to close, even if the prospect just met you.
Oh,
That's it. Yeah, good
like that.
stuff, right?
Sounds like a dating topic almost, Josh. Like, hey, how did I get her to like you, even if you just met her at the bar there?
There you
So,
go.
all right.
How much time do we have?
Josh, this has been awesome, man. I love having these conversations. Before we go, let's give the audience a little insight. We are going into Q2 of 2025. Just came off of our quarterly planning session. We've got some really super aggressive sales goals. I feel really good about them coming off of quarter one. But man, sometimes the sales goals, they kind of keep me up at night, right? So I am looking for healthier hobbies that allow me to stay grounded, stay focused, and really show up as my best self for these sales presentations. So I have kind of recommitted myself to working out, right? I know you are also a person that gets out there and works out, but I'm telling you for our audience, and we probably should have a whole conversation and podcast about this.
Yeah.
Man, working out in the morning before you start your sales calls is really a game changer because going back to assumptive language, it boosts your endorphins. You're going to feel like $1,000,000. That's going to come across in the conversations that you have. So, Josh, you got any other ideas for the clients or for the audience in terms of things they can do to kind of set themselves up to have these assumptive language conversations?
Actually, my mind was going to the workout and the health, but
Yeah.
in terms of the assumptive language, again, I'll just reiterate the importance of knowing that your team can fulfill, so you can demonstrate the case studies that's going to both build your confidence and reaffirm. And I'll just add with my favorite closing technique. And those of you who've heard me say it, you'll hear me say it 1,000 times more. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most likelihood that we are going to be partners moving forward, as you will be your digital marketing partner, how would you rate the likelihood of law firm marketing pros being your digital marketing partner going forward? If they say any number less than 10, I go right back on a shared screen. I go right back to my budget and spreadsheet. Okay, so what that we discussed are you struggling with that we can readjust? Well, I didn't want to spend that money, or I don't think. Okay, well let's see what it looks like when we take that out. So now we just reduced our budget by, let's say, $500. Okay, so now let's reevaluate it on a scale of 1 to 10. What's the likelihood, right?
I love that trial close. I'm a little more aggressive with mine. Again, taking people right to booking the next step of their onboarding process, but I like that trial close. I might have to try that one, Josh. As always, man, I learned so much from just having these conversations with you. So thank you for joining me. Thank you, audience, for sticking around. If you like what you heard, make sure you follow us on social, subscribe to the podcast, and you've got friends. You've got colleagues that could use some value in terms of sales. So share our content with those folks. Don't be scared.
That's right.
Hit the share button.
Right.
All right, Josh. Thanks again, man. Hope you're crushing it the rest of this month.
You too. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to the podcast for more straight shooting advice on closing deals that matter. Unlock the code, close the deal, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Closing Code Podcast.